Today we're going to show you why many beginner productions sound boring and lack character, memorability, and vibe. We will discuss what you need to add to your production to fix this issue, as well as how to present your idea in the best way possible.
Many instrumentals are built around a core idea. Sometimes it is a melody. Sometimes it is an arpeggio playing the core chord progression. Sometimes it is a bass line. Or a drum groove. We can even use a chord progression as our pivot element. A common issue beginner producers run into is lacking this pivot element in their tracks, or executing poorly on it.
It's important to mention that, while often the case, those core elements don't need to be the main part of your chorus or be omnipresent at all times. Instead, think of them as the part that draws you into the song, sets the stage, and is often the component that your track is built around.
So, how do you create a core idea? The main questions that you should ask yourself here are:
is this idea going to catch the listener's attention immediately?
Is it memorable?
Does it establish a vibe, a feeling, a scenery that you can instantly grasp?
We will note that you don't have to follow each of these rules for every song. Rather, we are offering you a framework. Similar to what we did in our top liner beginner mistakes video. You can then use this framework to analyze the problem and solve it.
So what is the key to a good pivot element?
Pick a favorite K-pop songs of yours. Can you tell what its pivot element is? Now imagine that pivot element on its own, and let's rewind to our questions from earlier. You would instantly notice that the pivot element is very attention-grabbing, memorable, and carries a particular mood. Let's look at some common examples for pivot elements.
If our pivot element is a drum beat, you would notice it is already quite bouncy, and more experienced top liners would even be able to start writing on top of it already. This is because it already establishes a clear vibe and feel straight from the start.
Should a song be built around a bass line, then they are often a mixture between harmonic content and groove. A melodic bass line would usually be catchy, and many songs would utilize cool sound design and effects for their bass sounds. This means a good bass line can instantly tick all the boxes.
Some kind of supernova. Watch out.
Or the one you're probably most familiar with, a melody or an arpeggio. You would notice that often these are the main or even only element in a song's intro, and for good reason. The melody would instantly catch your attention and make you wonder where the song is going. Similarly to what we discussed about bass lines, we can once again utilize plenty of sound design tricks or effects here. This means we can tick all three boxes. Listen to this example. The aggressive synths grab our attention instantly, the melodies are designed to be as memorable as possible, and the sound choice sets the scenery well. Let's listen to another example. The principle here is the same, but the vibe is completely different.
Another classic is using chords or a riff as a pivot element. This is especially common for songs that lean more into R&B. Oftentimes, a beautiful E-piano will both set the harmonic, rhythmic, and melodic scope of the song. Or we can use a different instrument, such as a guitar.
So how do you create a pivot element?
Oftentimes, beginner producers would think their ideas are simply not good enough, when in reality, the difference between a pro and a beginner producer really lies in the presentation. We are going to show you how to make your presentation as good as possible using melody as our pivot element. However, most of these techniques also work on the other pivot elements we mentioned.
We discussed this very topic in our Blackpink formula video a while ago, where we started with this sample. Then, we changed the instruments, simplified the melody by removing notes, and added effects to turn it into this. The idea is the same as the one we started with, but we made it more interesting and catchier at the same time, which is the key point.
So what should you do if your pivot element lacks character? It's rather simple.
First, pay attention to your sound choices. You may be tempted to go wild here, and in many cases that may be exactly what you're after. However, make sure your sounds also fit the context you're after. Sometimes a familiar sound is exactly what you need to establish a particular mood. And while we're focusing on melodies today, we're sure you can already see how this first point applies to the other types of pivot elements we mentioned earlier. Sometimes you may think that this step alone is enough for a good pivot sound, and that can indeed be the case. But we like to get creative, so here is what we often like to do next.
Simply bounce your idea to audio. While MIDI has its advantages, oftentimes audio offers us a unique and fresh perspective. Now you can quickly reverse single parts of your idea, remove parts of it, chop it up, and repeat it quickly. This way, you can find different and intriguing rhythms.
Part of this is most definitely experimentation. Not every change you make will be the right one straight from the start, but by trying different variations, you would often stumble upon really cool ones you may not have even considered before.
We can also use various effects. Anything that makes our sound unique and intriguing, like phasers, chorus effects, different kinds of distortion, and many more.
Another thing worth trying is playing with pitch bends, tremolo, and reverb throws. By adding details to our synthesized melodies, we can instantly make them feel more musical.
Similar to the chop-up approach, this often comes down to some experimentation. However, there are some pointers you can try looking at.
If you have a long-held note, how can you make it more unique? Try adding a tremolo or a vibrato to it.
If one note is quickly moving to another note or they overlap, try pitch sliding. This is an excellent technique to try on bass lines too.
If you're establishing a question-answer pattern with space in between, you can add a reverb or delay throw to fill that space.
All of these techniques, combined or separate from one another, can turn a decent idea into one that instantly grabs the listener's attention. And with some practice, you will master them. If you want to take your production, songwriting, or top line to the next level faster, you can book a free orientation call for our individual coaching from the link below. Spots are limited, so don't miss out.
Okay, I have my pivot element now. Do I include it in every section of the song? Or at least in the chorus? And are all instrumentals built around a single pivot element? These are all great questions, and they open the door to another common struggle beginner producers have, overproduction. But we have covered a lot in this episode, so we'll save this one for another time.
If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you want to support our mission of demystifying K-pop production and songwriting, please consider subscribing to our Ko-fi. Doing so, you will receive extra goodies such as our instrumentals we make for these videos and discounts for our other digital products. We are greatly appreciative of our amazing Ko-fi supporters, as they are the ones who are making this content possible in the first place. But for now, see you in the next video.